And there's just so much more to learn. There's so many more books to read. There's just so much more to do. And if I have a small part in keeping that fire in people, then I feel like, I've done what I will continue to do and to make a difference.
Welcome back to Torch Talk, the show where we spotlight bold leaders growing their businesses and communities with grit and purpose. Today's guest is Shasta Mast, Director of Leadership Holmes County through the Holmes County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Shasta.
Thank you.
A program focused on empowering local leaders and strengthening our community through connection, insight, and intentional growth. She brings years of experience in building leadership, fostering collaboration, and helping people discover how they can make a greater impact in the places they live and work. So I am so excited to dive into everything with you today.
Thanks. I'm excited too.
I want to hear about all the things Leadership Holmes County. I know Rachel, who's the CEO here at Fierce, did it last year, and she just raved about it. It was like one of the best experiences she's ever had. So I guess why don't you tell us a little bit about what the program is and what that looks like, and then we'll get into everything.
Great, thank you. Having Rachel was in the class was lovely. She contributed so much. She has so much positive energy, so much curiosity, and we just thoroughly enjoyed having her in the class. So this is my second full year doing the class, and Leadership Holmes County was really born out of a desire to build capacity. And I started at the chamber back in 2002, and it was in its, I think, second full year. So I really saw it from the ground up. Leah Miller has to be credited with building it into the program that it is today. She did it its first 25 years. And Holmes County is such a small community, but so vibrant, so strong, and has so many organizations that want to and are making a difference. And those organizations need leaders. And when you have schools that need leaders, you have businesses that need leaders, you have community organizations, you have churches, PTOs. There's so many groups that require strong leaders. And when you have, back then, 35,000 people who live in your community, you're really always searching for the right person to lead a project or lead an organization or make a difference. And those people don't always feel comfortable stepping into those leadership roles. For some people, it comes super naturally. They feel confident right from the beginning. They don't mind taking risks. They understand failing as an opportunity. But for some people, that's really scary. And when you consistently have the lowest unemployment in the state of Ohio, when you consistently have businesses that are growing and need more employees, when you consistently have people who want to make a difference in nonprofit organizations to raise money for different causes, then you have to have good, strong leaders. And you have to have a way to train them and a way to succeed them once a leader moves on from a position. So really that's what Leadership Holmes County grew from, and over the last 26, 27 years, it's just been growing apace right along with the community.
So what does the program look like from kind of start to finish? Like, walk us through what that, like if I was going to participate in the program, what would it?
So it's a 9-month program. It meets the first Thursday of the month, and the class is structured. It has between 20 and 25 employees or class members. We have 25 class members this year. It's the largest it's ever been. And those folks come from all walks of life, all ages. They can be folks who are just starting their careers, and it can be, we once had a county commissioner who was in his, let's say, final 10 years of his career, where he just really wanted to expand his leadership skills. And in the mornings, we meet and we focus on texts like Leadership by John Maxwell, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, Upstream by Dan Heath. And we discuss things that are happening in the world, examples of great leadership, examples of terrible leadership, and also what these folks see in their daily lives that they see as leadership challenges or places where they would like to make a difference. Because they do come from a cross-section of the businesses and organizations in Holmes County, all ages, we really get to see different perspectives that a lot of us don't see on a regular basis. So the discussion is very invigorating. It's challenging. It becomes a really safe place for these leaders to stretch, to spitball ideas, to maybe make brash statements and then talk about those and really hash things out. So we do that in the morning. And then every afternoon of the class is structured around a different segment of Holmes County's economy or community. So 1 month is tourism, 1 month is manufacturing, 1 month is education, 1 month is medical and emergency. And that way, not only are we talking about leadership, but we are meeting leaders where they live, where they work, in the middle of the work that they do, and we're hearing about not only their organization and its role in the community, but we're also learning about their personal leadership journeys, how they got to where they are. You know, did they wake up one morning and want to be a superintendent of a school system? Is this something they've always wanted to do, or was it a very circuitous journey? And then the class gets to discuss that the next time we get together, and it really helps bring fresh perspectives.
I love that. So you've been doing this for 2 years. Tell us what you were doing before that. What has been your evolution to bring you to where you're at now?
I went to school in Columbus, ended up living in Columbus for 10 years, working for the government downtown, had some great experiences. Started out as a writer, editor, event planner, marketer, communicator, that sort of thing, and wanted to move home. I was gone for 10 years and just found that Holmes County was calling me home. And I moved home and actually ran an inn for 3 years while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And an opening as the marketing manager at the Chamber of Commerce became available, and I began that role. And within a couple months, the current director had a heart attack. Things happened. And so I very quickly became the director and did that job for 17 years. So Leadership Holmes County was part of my responsibilities, but we had the very capable leader, Leah Miller, who was actually running the program at the time. And then I took the program, I believe it was the 03-04 class, a very long time ago. And one of the main things that I got out of it that I believe is so valuable is those people who were in my class are still people today that I can pick up the phone and say, what do you think of this? Or, you know, I just had this idea, or I see this problem in our community. What if we approached it from this perspective? What do you think? And I think every class develops that camaraderie, and they grow this group of peers that they will have for the rest of their careers. And I think that's so valuable. So
especially in an age when it's hard to make connections and it's hard to, that's just getting worse and worse. So to have that ability to have somebody who's not a competitor to you, and you can just call them and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. What do you think?
Yes.
And you learn the same thing. So that is great.
It is. And what I saw last year, which was my first full year doing it, by the end, our last class together, I, of course, had an agenda of things I wanted to cover. And as they were coming in that morning, so many of them confided in me something big that was happening in their lives, hard or whatever. And I scrapped the agenda for that day, for that morning, because there were so many big challenges that they were all facing, it seemed like, all at once, and they wanted to talk about them. Well, what a better group of people to talk about some challenges in your lives where you need some leadership advice. And so we hashed out real life. Some of it was work, some of it was personal, some of it was church, some of it was really heavy, medical things. But it gave them a great place and a great hive mind to discuss those issues. And I think it brought them all together, and I think there'll be people that they rely on for the rest of their lives.
I love that.
I do too.
Are there any standout, because you've only led for the last few years, but you've been around enough. Are there any standout like success stories you can think back on of somebody who went through the program, or like, I don't know, I just think about how impactful it must be, and even taking it yourself, like you still know the people. Any highlights, I guess, in just going back?
So many. I mean, we've had folks who took the class, basically right out of school, whether that's high school or college, and then they end up being CEOs or bank presidents or, running, so many people who've run organizations or got elected to office. Another great connective way Leadership Holmes County unites people is for years, well, really since the beginning of the program, I received calls, and I still do to this day, from organizations who are looking for leaders. And they'll say, hey, anybody stand out from your years around Leadership Holmes County that we could call? So it's a way not only to get involved in a volunteer way, but in some cases it's led to employment and really great opportunities. So I think the leadership alumni are a great group of people to tap into really at any time, to find people who care and want to make a difference, because that's really what being a leader is about. It's about making a difference in people's lives.
Of all of the material that you guys go through, what is your favorite? Like, is there a certain book that you're like, oh, I'm excited to go through this book this month?
I love Simon Sinek. So I really like Starts With Why, and I like, when I share things that I read with the class, and I encourage them to bring things in that they're reading. And so some of my favorite things, and I can't even think of the names over the years, but one of my favorite things is when someone else brings in a book that they're reading and says, you guys have got to read this. This is life-changing, or listen to this. Something that has stuck with me, and I'm rephrasing it because I rephrased it in a way that I can remember it. I read one time, a long time ago, in one of the leadership texts that we study, that the antidote to anxiety is action.
I just read that.
And that has really stuck with me. And I say it all the time in my personal life, in my professional life, when an organization is really spinning its wheels and is worried about making the wrong choice, sometimes you just have to move. You just have to be in action. So that's something, a tidbit that has really stood out to me over the years. But there's really been so many, and I get fired up the most when someone in the class gets fired up by either something we're reading or something that somebody else brings in.
Okay, so I know that you said you have all different types of people, all different types of backgrounds, but if we have employers who are listening to this and they're saying, okay, why would I pay not only you, but then also my employee to go participate one day a month in this program? Like, what would you expect, I guess, what's the return on investment do you see for an employer investing in the employee? And then on the flip side, then what is the employee learning, do you think? What are like some of the higher level things that you would expect somebody to come out of the program with?
I certainly expect them to come out of the program with increased confidence. And I think confidence is often a barrier, particularly to new or young leaders. There's a couple things. We have folks in this year's class from Delaware County, Ashland County, Tuscarawas County, Wayne County, and Ashland County.
But they all work in Holmes County?
In addition to Holmes County.
Okay.
And they all work in Holmes County. So when we are a net importer of jobs, of employees to fill jobs, I should say, we have employers who really need help, maybe onboarding their rising stars, because they don't understand our culture, our organizations, the way things work in Holmes County, or they don't know a lot of people. And so this is a fantastic way to really immerse somebody who didn't grow up here, doesn't understand.
100% agree.
It's a cliche to say it's unique, but it is so different than anywhere else.
Honestly, even if you grew up here, it was the first time Rachel had been to Behold.
Right.
Like, how many of the people who live here, I mean, we all know about the Amish and a little bit of the story, but to like get the full picture, I know that that was super impactful for her, even though she's local. So we also bring a lot of employees from outside the area. And I was just thinking about that while you're talking. I'm like, I get so many questions about Amish. I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, I know enough, but like, even though they're just from Canton, it's not that far away, but they didn't grow up here. So
Right.
there's a certain context that, going and visiting the local businesses and doing the tours of that museum and all of the different, it gives them a better view of what it is like here, which also helps them not only understand the community better, their organization better, but probably their customer better too. Like especially if their customer is local, it's a good connection all around.
100%. And it's always shocking to the class what our businesses are doing, how innovative
It's a little bit undercover.
It really is. And it's amazing. And even though I've been immersed in it since '02, I'm still surprised and just amazed at what our businesses are doing. The innovation, the creativity, the business acumen is really mind-boggling. And we have folks that come here and study it because on paper we should not be as successful as we are. We don't have any of the things that economists say we need to be a thriving community and growing and whatever. They say you need access to 4-lane highways. They say you need rail. They say you need, all these things that we just don't have. And we've been studied by economists from Ohio State, written up in the Wall Street Journal, and nobody understands it. And so if you're not from here, but you have to work here, you really need a good, quick, immersive study into Holmes County 101, and Leadership Holmes County is that. But like you mentioned, if you are from here, have you been to the Killbuck Valley Museum? Have you been to Bahalt? Have you immersed yourself in some of the things that we take for granted as being from Holmes County?
Yeah, right.
And have you ever eaten at the jail? The Holmes County Jail. When was the last time you had a school lunch? I mean, we do those kinds of things to give the class members a completely different perspective. Holmes County from a completely different perspective, in addition to all the leadership.
Yeah, I think that both sides of that are really valuable. On the other side of that, this might be derailing or a little bit more off topic than what I'm thinking. I just know from an employer perspective, like, training and developing our team is really important to us. We work a lot on training, but we're a fairly young organization, and we're just now getting to the point where we need to have like a leadership training program. So absolutely, Leadership Holmes County is on our radar because I know how valuable the program is. But what about after? Like, what about, like, is there, maybe this is something new, we need to talk about the idea later, but I feel like there needs to be like post-employer support for how do I continue this, or, because you don't just go and meet with your class that you feel super safe with, and then it's kind of like getting that good idea. It's kind of like going on mission trip and coming back on fire, and then you're going your organization, and now how do I apply this? Are there any leadership stories that you've heard about that? Is there, like, what do employers do to help support after they've been through the program an employee that they've sent through? Like, what would you say sets somebody up for success for application and all of those types of things?
I know from experience through the program that a lot of times employers do send someone that they have an eye on for promotion. And so their next step when they get back is, maybe interviewing for a job opportunity within. And I've seen that work so many times. They come out of Leadership Holmes County on fire, maybe with a different perspective, with some more confidence, some more skills than they went into it, and they are ready to take a next step in their business. We are also brainstorming right now at the chamber, and I'm working on a plan to devise a way to keep those leaders connected once they graduate.
Like reunions?
Like reunions, but more than just a social reunion. Getting together maybe twice a year with a meaningful I don't know what
accountability,
that
like, hey, how are things going? What have you applied?
And also maybe a really dynamic speaker about leadership that is something that's exclusive to the leadership alumni, that they're the only ones that get invited to go. Something that keeps them connected, something that keeps them on fire.
Yeah.
Something that, really makes it even more meaningful to be a part of that group of Leadership Holmes County.
Right. I mean, because it doesn't stop.
No.
I mean,
Leadership
the
never
world
stops.
It doesn't, like, the world's evolving, workforce is evolving, like, there's
so many changes every day.
It's sometimes exhausting. Like, can we just have a second?
Right, exactly. And I've had people make comments to me, since I am a, let's say, seasoned leader, that now I'm a leader, or, now I've arrived. No, I haven't arrived. I have so much more to learn, and I learn every time I go on these tours. I learn something new from these incredible leaders out there doing the work. I learn from the class members every time, even not just on class days, when they email me behind the scenes or I run into them, and I learn so much from them. And there's just so much more to learn. There's so many more books to read. There's just so much more to do. And if I have a small part in keeping that fire in people, then I feel like, I've done what I will continue to do, and to make a difference, which is all I really want to do.
I love that. And that's really the heart of the whole program and the purpose of it in the first place. Are there any trends that you're seeing right now, like, as talking about changes? So, like, what do you see some of the most common challenges, like, the leaders are talking about in the workforce right now?
Generational differences.
I just talked about this because we have an event coming up. We're going to do a young professionals panel, but I said, I don't really want to talk about, like, I understand the generational differences are still an issue, but, like, I think they're kind of sick of hearing about it.
True.
It's the same as when millennials, which I am, we just talked about this, I'm the oldest millennial. Garrett, our videographer, is the youngest millennial, so we're fully covered here.
I'm an Xer.
Well, I'm right on the line, so we just had that whole debate. But I'm like, everybody hated the millennials when they're coming. They're so lazy, and why would you want purpose in your work? And I remember all of those things clearly stuck with me. That was a long time ago. I think that this generation is going to feel the same way, because there's been a lot of talk. Certainly 100% real challenges. I have a very young team. Like, we have 20 people. More than half of them are under the age of 28. So there's the way that they were raised, different technology, social media, like, that highly impacts their life experience year to date, or life to date, is totally different than what I had until I was 25. But you don't want to beat a dead horse either.
Right.
Like, they're real people.
Right. And I see that these are young people who are maybe managing for the first time.
Yeah.
And so they're seeing it from the other perspective now, where they were the ones that everybody was sick of dealing with because they were young and, had the stereotype that they didn't want to work. They were living in their parents' basement, all those kinds of things. But now they're maybe new managers.
It's kind of like parenting. Like, you don't really get behind the scenes until you do it. And then you're like, oh,
right.
Like, leadership's kind of like that. Like,
yeah.
I have to hold people accountable. And that's why we have consistency and rules. And because
right.
Yeah.
And so we do discuss that, and still there's finding people. That's, I think, always going to be a problem. Hiring in Holmes County is always.
Do you have any advice for employers who are looking to hire? Is there anything that you see of somebody who's doing it really well?
Yes. The people who are doing it really well are dealing with those soft issues that make people's lives easier and more fulfilling. You look at the Provias of the world, you look at the Keim Lumbers of the world, they are really the Mavens of the world. They're really making the space their workers inhabit friendly and nurturing, and they're dealing with the whole person instead of just the worker. And their employees work hard. Don't get me wrong. They're not lessening the requirements or the expectations, but they are considering the whole person rather than just the
How do you think
worker.
that they're finding those people? Are their hiring processes different? Like, or do you, because those are all bigger organizations.
They are.
So do you feel like they're attracting people because of their known reputation, or do you
Yes.
think that there's something different?
I think they're attracting people because of their known reputation that they've built over a long time.
I know as a smaller employer, something that helps us a lot is our social media presence. So like people get a good view of who we are from a culture standpoint.
Yes.
I've talked about this with our clients a fair amount. Like if you use social for nothing else other than to let future employees know. I mean, if you're hiring a young generation, you better believe they're going to go to Instagram or TikTok and see if you're on there.
Right.
And I know there's people out there listening who are like, ugh, they don't want to hear that because it's not something they want to do. But like if we're not all Provias. So
Right.
if you're not that, and you do feel like you have something good to offer future employees, and really also if you're pulling people from outside the area, then give them something to look at, and or make sure at least your website reflects your culture really well. Because if you're not going to do the social, then you got to share the story somewhere.
You're exactly right.
Yeah. Any other challenges? So we have like kind of the generational differences in hiring. Any other consistent?
They're all, I think, worried. Worried is too strong of a word, but they're all tuned in to the differences as to what's going on in the world and maybe the country as a whole versus what's going on in Holmes County. And they want to talk about that because none of them, even the ones who aren't from here, they don't want to lose what is right about Holmes County and what makes it great, what makes us this really special, vibrant little bubble that we are. And so we spend a lot of time talking about that. And
so that we don't turn into Myrtle or like Gatlinburg
Right.
2.0, because that's what it feels like sometimes when you're driving
it
through.
does.
There's a balance to that because
There
it is a
is.
part of what makes us a thriving economy, but it's also, you don't want to lose the integrity of what we have to offer here. And so there has to be a balance there.
And then they want to also talk about some of the issues that nobody wants to talk about because we go to the jail, we go to the sheriff's office, we talk to law enforcement. Tomorrow we're going to be meeting with the judges, and they have some ugly stories to tell. And some of the folks won't have heard that before, and some of the folks will have lived that before. And so next month we'll talk about it. And they'll want to talk about that too, the challenges. They all want to talk about housing.
Housing is an issue everywhere. It is bad in Holmes County
It is,
too.
and if you're young and starting out, it's impossible.
I know because the team that I have, most of them live
Yes,
at home.
that's right.
Even if you graduate from college and you're making decent money, it's just, I was just telling somebody earlier today, like I've rented an apartment in Worcester for 10 years and it's triple the price.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Right.
It's not that long to go, it's more than my mortgage.
Right.
This is the whole reason we have a housing crisis. So
That's exactly right.
It is definitely a problem.
And so if we're looking for these young, vibrant workers to come either to Holmes County for the
Right.
first time or to come back, if they're from here and have gone away and gotten an education, we want them to come back. There's no place for them to live.
Yeah.
So
They can't afford it.
we talk about that, and I am hoping you talked to Katie and Megan about that. I know they're going to take a stab at that issue, and so they all want to talk about those kinds of relevant things. And so then we connect them when those issues come up, and if there are people who are passionate, like Laura McCartney, who's in the class from Habitat with Humanity, she's passionate about housing. So she's plugged in with Katie and Megan, and we connect those kinds of people so that if you care about an issue and it comes up in the class, then we follow up and connect those people with the right people so that they can, I mean, if your hair's on fire about something, go fix it. And we want to help people do that as best we can. Just support them and point them in the right direction.
Yeah, if I'm actually joining the tourism council.
Great.
And it's because I grew up here. So I grew up here. I've always been a part. I remember 1990s Berlin. It was a lot different than it is now. But I had aunts and uncles who used to live, or they still live in Texas, and they'd come home every summer. So we'd have to go do all the tourist things. So we did the tour at Schrock's Amish Farm, and like I had to ride in an Amish buggy. I'm like, what are we doing? I live here. But tourism has always been such a part of the local community, and I have a passion for that, and it crosses over in marketing. And I've had people for 2 years saying, you really care about this, you should join. And finally, I'm listening to them. So
Great.
that is for sure a testament. If there's something that you're looking at and you're like, I don't like, why do I care about this? And every time somebody brings it up, it makes you like feel a little like, oh, that means maybe you should pay attention to it, and it's a cause you should go
Right.
after. So
Right. And I ran the Tourism Council as part of the chamber for 17 years, and you will, I think, really enjoy it. It's such a big industry, it makes such a huge impact on our community, and there's lots of challenges there and so many opportunities. And tourism is fun. I mean, you know, my first marketing job was the Bureau of Workers' Compensation.
ew.
So marketing, you know, tourism in Holmes County is a lot more fun.
Yeah, that's a lot easier to market
Yeah.
than workers' comp.
For sure.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Nobody wants to talk about that. But it was baptism by fire, so it was all good. But it is. I think you'll really like it. And you're in a perfect position to make a difference.
Okay, so tell people who are listening, when does the program open? When are applications? Like, what's the process to become a part of Leadership Holmes County?
This class will graduate the first Tuesday in June at the Chamber's membership luncheon. So their last full class will be the first Thursday in May. Applications will be open all summer. We
Okay.
usually wind them down mid-August to late August, and we take 25. They have to be sponsored by their employer. Fill out the application. It's available online. It's also available at the chamber.
It's on the Holmes County Chamber's website.
It
Okay.
sure is. It will be updated this summer, but right now it's this past year's application. But that's valid too. They can still fill that out if they want to fill it out now and send it in. That's totally fine for next year. And then it will start the first Thursday in September and
Go till May.
go till May.
June graduation.
Yep.
Okay. What's the cost for the class?
It depends on if you're a chamber member or not, and all
Okay.
that's listed on
So if they
holmescountychamber.com.
want to check it out, that's where they go.
Yep, that's
Okay.
exactly right.
All right, awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me a little bit, and we can share about that Leadership Holmes County. I will be sure to, I think I have a leader I want to put in for next
Great.
year.
That's
So
awesome.
we'll stay in touch.
Awesome.
And I appreciate the candid conversation.
Thank you so much, Lindsey. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to Torch Talk. If today's story sparks something for you, share it with a colleague, community leader, or future change maker. Until next time, stay inspired, stay intentional, and keep your fire burning.